Hey guys, bear with me. Just give me a second while I go into our free group. All right. Just want to make sure that we are live on Facebook and that we are in our free group. So if you not in our free group or you don't even know about our free group and you have no support, please make sure that you make your way over, to Facebook because I know how stinky it is to just not have the support you need. All right, so first off, my name is Rachel Feldman. I was a health coach, and the reason I call myself a business coach is just because I ended up making this a business and decided to dedicate my life really to helping coaches, because still by heart I am a health coach wanting to change this world. There is so much sickness, guys, so many people. And I was just talking to one of the coaches in our groups, in our paid groups, everything. Her name is Kira. We were just talking about the fact that there's so much information, so much sickness, and yet people are getting worse. So it is our job to lessen the overwhelm and provide knowledge for people on how either we got better or what we wish was in the world at the time that we started to get sick. And that to me is what a coach is about. It's a way shower. It is showing the way, a simplified version of all the different books that you have read, the journey, the different people that you have hired, the experiences, the schools that you have gone to, and packing it into a condensed version. So I just want to welcome you to our series. This is the last of our 6. It has just been an amazing, amazing experience. And if you heard last night, which was Jessica with me talking about just her experience as a coach, and just talking about workshops and how simple this can be to make money, I really hope that you go back and listen, because talking to her and talking to her before even that conversation and even our many conversations just as friends and coaches and women and moms and talking about how hard it was when we were like, what do we feed our kids? And are we giving them the right probiotics? And, it just is such a testimony to how difficult it can be to think if we're doing it right, and how simple it can be actually when you think what are people actually looking for? We're looking for a simple solution, and yet it feels so overwhelming. Should I eat gluten? Should I not? Should I get off dairy? Is dairy good for me? Is magnesium good? Should I take magnesium? Should my vitamin D be checked? And the whole idea of being a coach is that you are able to provide a journey for people. So tonight, what we're going to do is talk about how to really take your pain and turn it into a product, how to take your journey and create multiple messages. Because what I see coaches have such a tough time with is how to create this business, and one that is marketable, one that makes you money, one that feels really authentic, and one that also separates you from different people. Remember, you'll hear a lot of people in marketing say, and excuse me, I've just little allergies, and I think just a little cold because our weather has significantly changed from just piping hot in Florida to like about 40s in a day. So I have just a little congestion. But you'll hear a lot of people in marketing in the digital space who don't understand how different the health and wellness brand is. In the health and wellness brand, people have to identify with you. It's very different from somebody saying, here, this is a great phone. This is what this phone does. Or here's a social media package, and you see it. It's tangible. You can look and say, wow, that social media package is something I want to buy. Or you can compare, one WordPress design to another. It's tangible. A service is tangible. Whereas when you're buying something from a coach or a life coach or a fitness coach or a health coach, you're buying their journey. It doesn't mean that all over your homepage or your Work With Me page, it's about you, but it has to be that they're identifying with you. They're identifying with your values. They're identifying with your mission. They're identifying with what you're about, who you are, what you say. And too often we get confused. On, how to really express that. We get confused like that we are just this one faceted, like, well, here's my niche. So we only talk about that. I am about gut. But we forget that we are a journey. We are a hero journey. And what does that mean? That means that within that journey, there's so many things that have gone through. And I talked about this in my membership today. We had a 90-minute call where we talked in detail about just us being humans and the fact that so many of our journeys aren't just this, well, I'm a gut specialist. It's, I'm a woman and I feel stressed. And when I stress, I overeat. Or when I go to work, it's so hard to not eat, the candy and the chocolate covered pretzels and, all the stuff that's brought in during the holidays. And I feel deprived. And then I go through the holidays and I overeat and then I feel bloated and then I start doubting myself because we're human and we have these feelings. And so I want you to unlearn. I keep saying this, unlearn. Step back from this place that we have been fed in digital marketing and also in business. This place where we're like, I only have to look at my list as I only have 30 people. Great, you have 30 people, you can change their lives. How are you going to communicate to them? Stop saying, well, I only work with people who are between the ages of 35 to 50. Instead say, I work with people who are really struggling, who have gained weight and who go to parties and feel like they're the only one in the room who feel like they want to eat the entire cake. And who, when they go to the movie theater, they want not just a little popcorn, they want the whole popcorn and the Kit Kat and this and that. And they don't just want one slice of pizza, they want the whole pizza because their whole life they've been living in deprivation. And yet their whole life they've been on a diet. And yet all they do is overeat. I work with women like myself. Stop defining just who you work with and start speaking. We've gotten so into this habit of saying, I work with women who, want to follow a ketogenic diet. Do people even know what that is? Or I work with people who want to eat clean. Well, 20% of people maybe know what that is, or health coaches, or maybe some of your clients do, but those are the ones that already know what eating clean is. So maybe you're feeding and you're appealing to 20%, but I guarantee you, if you stopped and you stepped away from your business for a second, because every time I'm at my kid's school, I'm at the football field, or I'm at Dunkin' Donuts, or I'm at CVS, or I'm just talking to somebody. Like the other day, I had to go to the dentist because something was going on with my tooth. And the woman who was, putting the little apron, little thing on, said, "Oh, well, how did you get the swelling down?" And I said to her, "Oh, well, this is what I do. I had swished with colloidal silver. I swished with food grade hydrogen peroxide. I was putting On Guard on every 15 minutes and frankincense." And she was like, "Oh, wow. How'd you learn that?" And I said, "Oh, I went to school to, kind of study that stuff. I didn't say I was a health coach, because most people, raise your hand if you've said health coach, and people go like this. Or you've been at a dinner party and people ask you what you do, and you're like, or you're at work. Because I remember saying that, and people looked at me like I was from another planet. So I want you to stop thinking about being a coach. I want you actually to think about being a human and how scary it is to make change. And how scary it is, even when I went for this tooth the other day, and I'm not trying to talk about myself, but I'm trying to tell you, I was having a panic attack because I don't like going to the dentist. It's one of my biggest fears. And this was a periodontist. And my biggest fear was that he was going to tell me something really scary. And my husband even went with me, and I was having kind of like a little panic attack. And I even said, I was like, "I'm really nervous." And I was getting even a little irritated, because when I get nervous, I get a little quick and irritated. And I thought about all the times that I would see clients, and I always would say to them, "I want to let you know, if you're scared, just tell me," because I don't like change myself. I get really scared. And all I ever ask of you as we go through this journey is to just be honest with me. If you don't want to make a change, or if making a change pushes you into a binge, or stress eating, like that's the last thing I want you to do. So just be honest with me. And they always said, "Rachel, thank you so much for saying that, because I've lived in shame my whole life. I don't tell anybody that I hide food, and that I tell my husband, like, oh, I've got to go pick up something, and I actually go to the drive-thru." Remember, people were so multifaceted, not just in our health issues. I talk about that a lot because I've got autoimmune that are so layered, and not everyone is layered. But I would say even in weight loss, I always say, God, that's a really hard, thing to work with people, because the people who I saw with weight loss were very layered, which is why I always approached weight loss with gut, because I thought, you know what, a lot of fungal, bacterial, viral, and metabolic issues, blood sugar, were gut related. And that's how I approached it, because I was like, whoa, Nelly, I'm a little nervous if, I just don't believe in white knuckling. That was my approach. And I'm telling you all of this because so often we don't get hired because we're not sharing ourselves. I talked to my first copywriter, and then we're going to get into you. We're going to make this all about you tonight, as it should be. You guys hear a lot of us. I mean, like people who have either been in business, or maybe we're coaches and we decided it wasn't for us, so we became coaches. But we do a lot of this. Talk. Do this, follow this. You should be doing this. 3 ways, 5 ways to get clients. I mean, you hear all this. It's called marketing. And I don't want to do that anymore. In this last month, I've heard, and I've talked to actually 35 of you. Not only do I hear you guys and I see you guys in forums, but I've gotten on the phone, which I always do, but really have had some just interesting, amazing conversations, or maybe I've just listened in a different way. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do like 8 waves, 7 waves, because it's not working. We're all doing that. We're all like blah, 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 blah. And you're over information, just like our clients. So I really want you to hear that. It's noisy. You're over information. You're all like, should it be ClickFunnels? Should it be Lead Pages? Should it be Kajabi? Should it be MemberPress? Should it be Access Ally? Should it be this plugin? We're all like, woo, woo, woo. So I want you to kind of like reverse. I'm even doing this in my business. I'm going back to the basics. I'm looking at everything I'm doing and simplifying. And I want you to think the same thing for your clients. People are busier than ever. So what do your clients really need? And what do they need to hear? They barely have time to cook. So what are their biggest needs? So 2 days ago, yesterday I talked to my first copywriter. She was one of the people who truly changed my life. I talk about her a lot. She was one of the first people who gave me permission to be myself, gave me permission to speak my truth, find my voice. And she said, one of the biggest things, Rach, with coaches is that it's not just the niche. It's not just, and she was like, and when people in marketing tell somebody in the health and wellness that it's not about storytelling, they're doing the biggest disservice. I said, I love you. I said, thank you. And she said, storytelling is everything. It's why the soap opera sequence was always, and that's in marketing. Look it up tonight. Google it after. I don't have to get into it. The soap opera sequence is one of the best marketing sequences because it tells this story. It's like the soap opera. You're like, oh, I've got to open this next email. What's going to happen next? But it's not just about the story. It's people don't just follow you for the story. People follow you for like, what do you really stand for? So many of us are just think that we can stand, and please raise your hand and drop if you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, you're watching this wherever, drop a 1 if you agree that we think, and we make the mistake so often that we think just by saying I'm a hormone specialist, or I'm a functional medicine practitioner, or I'm a detox specialist, or I specialize in perimenopause. Or I'm a family health, or I'm a life coach, that we think that's enough. And we think that explains to the person who's looking for us. We're like, ta-da. It's not. It doesn't explain anything. That makes us feel better because we have a lack of confidence. And drop a 2 if you feel that most of us in the health and wellness industry, even if you're right brain, sorry for the sniffle, even if you're right brain, that most of us come with some old story lack of confidence. I'll raise my hand. I have my old stories. And most of us who come into this profession as helpers, caretakers, wanting to take care of somebody is because we've come from that place where that didn't happen for us. No shame or blame. No throwing anyone under the bus. And so we feel like that just says enough. Problem is, it doesn't. The biggest work is what? It's the authenticity work. So the biggest work is not just the niche work, it's the story combined with this who am I? This brand. Brand is not just what you see in my office. These are my brand colors. It's not just I love, it's not just I love diamonds, or I love red or black or gray or gold. It's not just I love J brand jeans and big trucks and that I curse a lot, but it's what I stand for. It's not just gut cleansing, weight loss done different. I mean, I can tell you everything that I did in Rachel's Wellness. I can tell you every program, and I'm gonna explain this all, and it's gonna be lightning. Like each one of you are gonna go, because it really hit me yesterday when Hillary said this. And Allison Leitzig, who is, not only was she a health coach, but she was a brand expert and a website designer and somebody I graduated with. So these are like people back when IN was the old days, like the old days of IN, back when things were different in the digital world. And even Allison used to say to me, God, you know, Rach, I can tell you what your brand is. It's not the program. Hear this. It's not the program that you sell. It's what you stand for. I stand for no bullshit. Straight talk. Tell me how it is. Don't lie to me, even if it hurts. I stand for telling people what it's going to be like. Like, I stand for saying that, no, your gut's not going to get better just in 6 months. That is a marketing tactic. That is for the common person. That is not for the person that has had gut dysbiosis since they were a child. I stand for empowerment. That means that I want somebody to know that this is one of my favorite brands of bile salts. I also want somebody to know 5 other brands. I stand for kids having power. That's why I love essential oils. But I'm not going to tell you just it's one brand, because I will tell you doTERRA is the one that I love after I did 8 months of testing. But you know what? There are about 2 other companies that I like a few other different oils. Do I have shame in that? No. I stand for people having their voice back and knowing that there is not just this one simple path. I stand for people knowing life is not easy. I stand for people knowing that there's not one dogmatic approach, because it wasn't that way for me. And all these things that I stand for encompass every program that I needed to do. And at the time, they weren't programs. They were things that were part of my journey. So my pain, as Eric Thomas says, he always would say, turn your pain into your product, turn your pain into your product. And I would hear that every time, and I would sit there and cry, because my pain was my autoimmune. It was my gut. And I kept searching and searching and searching and searching and asking questions and reading protocols from Klinghardt to Paul Pritchford to Jordan Rubin to, I mean, the list went on. Kim Schneider, Josh Axe, I mean, everyone. Liz Lipsky, everyone that I could get my hands on, anyone who I could see. Any practitioner, shamans, light workers, I mean, light therapy, you know, anything, colonics, like people didn't even speak English, you know, Chinese therapists, I mean, whatever, but I did it. That was my journey. And so I took those different things and I put them into Reiki. I mean, I went to school, I put them into programs. So when Hillary said to me, it didn't matter what program you sold, Rachel, because that was part of your brand. Because the why was always there. You were like, well, I had gut issues, so here, download this grain-free, you know, Thanksgiving recipe guide, because this is where I'm at, guys. It made sense. If you're not making money, it's that it doesn't make sense to anyone, because you're not telling the story. You might be showing up and being like, let's just give an example. You might be like, this is On Guard, guys. And this is really great because during this time, it is really easy to get sick. So during this time, you know, this is what I travel with this everywhere. And I go like this. But it may not make sense to the story. Why is this really important? Why is this different from somebody just going on Amazon or ordering this from somebody else? Why is this important to you? Why is it important to you? Why does it touch you? And it may not touch you. Some of you, it may be real scientific, but then own it. like really own it, or infuse it into a program, infuse it into a detox, infuse it into a gut health, infuse it into something, but make it a part of your story. And for a lot of you, I guarantee you that you have stories that you aren't telling, and yet you want to be making a lot of money. And more importantly, you want to be changing lives, and you're scared to say it, and you question, and you say things to yourself like, I don't know if I should say that, or maybe that's too much. And I'm not telling you to be myself, I'm not telling you to be anyone else, but I'm saying that if you're not making money, or people aren't getting the connection, something is missing. Either they don't feel you, or they don't understand why they need to hire you. So I want everyone, before we do, and I'm going to bring Lynn on, I'm going to bring whoever wants to come on tonight. And I want you to even think of like one or two questions, that you want to ask. Like, hey, this is where I'm stuck. Let's go through this. Because I know many of you really know who you are, and yet a big part of this is figuring out how to connect. And it's not always just one message. It's like you have to be able to step back and say, when I felt this, when I was going through this, what did I feel? And for that person who's feeling this, what does he or she need to hear? And it's really a lot of psychology, and it's not being fake, because that can be seen from a mile away. It's feeling it, and especially if you are working in the online space, it needs to be super clear. Some of you do much better offline, and that's why you'll hear me say a lot, like, you might have to spend the time, to work on a Saturday or Sunday, or you might have to spend the time to work, on an hour a night, or pick 2 nights that you're going to see clients. I had to do that. It wasn't enjoyable. I'm not a night person, but I really wanted to build my business. So sometimes there is sacrifice, and nobody likes to talk about that. Something that I talk about a lot. I did make sacrifices, to get to where I wanted to get to in my business. But it doesn't have to be just many, many moons of sacrifice. And sometimes the sacrifice is worth it, especially if you're starting to see the financial earnings, but especially like just those testimonials of people who see their life change. So we're going to bring on Lynn first. But I want you to think about, before I do this, 1, what do you stand for? Write in the comments. Write in the comments on Facebook. And again, just before I go on, my name is Rachel Feldman. You can go and check out what I do. Like, my happy main home is rachelalfeldman.com. And then we have all our done for you content at yourhealthcoachbiz.com. And that is just simply because, we barely have time to see clients. We barely have time to network and to really hone in on this stuff, like the people we're meant to serve, showing up, building that authority. So when do we have time to write a program, or blogs, or newsletters, or presentations? So I want each one of you to think, 1, what do you stand for? It's a big one. What do you stand for? What is your vision for the world? I know it's a kind of like really like, oh my goodness. What do you want to change? What did you wish was around when you were going through either your health crisis or someone you love? Because remember, like, you got a long life, and there are, I bet, a myriad of different things that have gone on. So write them down. Make a timeline. I bet you can pick out 20 things. And if you can't say them, like, I stand for this, I stand for this, this is what upsets me, this is what I wish was, work on that. Because as you get more clear and you're able to say that with conviction, That is the key word, conviction. You will rise and you will get to a different place in your business. Okay, so we are going to hear from Lynn. Hold on, Lynn. I think I need to unmute you first. Hold on. Okay. Oh, no, you're muted.
I've done it.
Hi, Lynn.
Hey, Rach.
It's so fabulous to see you, as always. And that lovely voice, which I always say.
Which is also hoarse from living here in Florida in this lousy weather today.
I know. Just all of a sudden I said to my husband, I was like, am I getting sick? He said, honey, everyone's sniffling. Everyone's sniffling because we went from, 80 to
80.
40.
It's supposed to be back 80 at the weekend.
I know. I heard that. So that's why I'm going between tea to lemon water, tea, lemon water, tea, lemon water.
And lots of On Guard.
That's why I have them right here. Okay. So I know we had talked about, and I'll just bring everyone kind of up to speed. One, I've known Lynn for a long time, guys. And for many of you, I have known you guys for a long time because either you've been in a free group with me, or I've known you from, programs, or I've just met you. And most often I get to know you even from just meeting you, because when you show up and you share, I remember you. But sometimes we pick groups that we desire to serve, or we pick niches based on our own journey. And sometimes they're marketable, or sometimes they're not. And sometimes maybe it just isn't a great fit. And so Lynn and I have been talking about finding something that just fit even a little more for the masses. And so Lynn, why don't we even start tonight going over this group that you want to serve now, and their main problems, and how this story really relates to you.
Yeah, so it's really difficult because for so many years I focused on migraines, and I just really know that that's not where it's at. For me, it's just not worked. So I've gone through a lot, but I'm really having a hard time still trying to figure it out. We talked the other day about, I've been listening to so much about you have to niche down, which is really difficult for me because I do a whole gambit of stuff. And so I'm finding it really difficult. I know we talked the other day about getting more into talking about women 40 to 50. And I mainly talk about weight loss because that's where it seems to start with people. But what I really like to do with people is speak to the stumbling blocks that they have that might be emotional stumbling blocks that keep them from getting where they want to be. So I was listening to a podcast today, and it was talking about really breaking down the emotional barriers that women have that cause them to overeat. And I like to do that.
So what about actually looking at, instead of just saying 40 to 50, because I think so often it's someone hears 40 to 50 and we're like, okay, well, that's not me.
Right.
But actually thinking about what are these 5 areas? So it's sugar.
Yes.
It's emotional eating. It's aging. I think also as a woman, it's sometimes we just feel alone. As being a woman, we feel like we have to wear the superwoman cape. We have to do it all. We have to be caretakers. And instead of going and saying weight loss, it's actually breaking down, why do we get to the point of stress eating? Why do we get to the point of emotional vacancy? So it's looking at the problem, because weight, it's not just, I work with women who are overstressed and have gained weight, but it's I work with women who really feel alone. and you know, and so when you're, let's even mock, like, because you do a ton of lives.
Yeah.
So like I see you say, you know, ladies, you know, I talk a lot in these lives about solutions, but you know, let's change this up. Let's start having some really open conversations about subjects that we often don't talk about. You know, let's talk today. Let's have like a little coffee talk about how hard it can be to feel like we just have to take care of everyone and we rarely have time to take care of ourselves. And then what happens? We feel stressed. We end up, you know, either overeating, over drinking, you know, not exercising, feeling tired, because I think it's not just this one area. I feel like I feel like when we think about niching down, when I think about sugar or caffeine or food or self-care, it's like they all just mosh into this, I don't have time, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. I feel like it just, everything bleeds into one. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I do. And that's what's made it really difficult for me, because the message from everybody had been niche down, niche down, niche down. And I was just struggling with that. So just with what you're saying tonight has really helped.
So what if you actually came out and was like, you know, I had another copywriter. There were a few women that really profoundly changed my life. And they were actually these two copywriters. One was, her name was Hillary, and one, her name was Kira. And she used to say to me, Rachel, I love working with you because you inspire me as a woman. Mm-hmm. And I would always say, Kira, what are you, I'd always say, what are you talking about? Like, and she would say, because you just always talk about like how hard it is to be a woman and that we have like so much responsibility. And I feel like when we get into this perfect pitch, which don't get me wrong, I'm so grateful for women like Marie Forleo and, you know, and this like niche and the pitch and the this, but I also feel like those days are kind of a little over. Like we've gotten to the point where it's just like, let's just say it, you know, let's just like, we've, you know, I would almost, and again, this is where I feel like just maybe testing it out. It's not to say to throw everything out, but I would love to kind of see something a little different, because what I do think, and I've always said to you, like, you're like the Mary Poppins, you know, this, and also because I do think for those who are British, there is a certain way that you don't express everything.
Right.
To really come out and say, you know, look, I grew up British, and we were taught to not express everything. And as women, you know, we hold things in, and then we don't talk about it, and we gain weight, and then our thyroid is a hot mess, and then we get migraines, because I feel like it's all connected. That's what I'm trying to say. As women, I mean, we're not just these single layered people. Nobody is. Mm. So the niche is so that we can focus, but within gut. Somebody has skin issues. Somebody has migraines. Somebody has sleep issues, hair's falling out, you know, bad breath, you know, all these, it's like almost the same, hormonal, they all overlap. It's just what is the focus point of the message. So taking the pain is more actually in the message of coming on and having a newsletter that says, you know, I never told you this. I never told you that I was addicted to sugar. I ended up having migraines. I ended up, you know, binge eating. I mean, whatever you want to divulge. I'm just, you know, we're just role playing. Or, you know, going on Facebook and saying, you know, I lived on a diet I mean, I don't know, most women I would say lived on a diet. My first diet, I was 12. And say, I lived on a diet my whole life. I often talk to you about oils and stress and how to de-stress, but let's really talk about it. I lived on a diet my whole life. I know you don't want to hear about clean eating recipes. So let's actually talk about like how to not cook, because who really wants to cook? Let's talk about how to really get through the day and how to take one afternoon where you're dancing in your kitchen on Sunday, cook what you need, and let me really teach you how to really not cook the whole week and eat healthy and learn how to go out to dinner and enjoy your glass of wine and not gain weight. Because, and I'm not telling somebody to advocate drinking.
I know, because that's really what I teach people.
Right. And I'm not saying, again, if somebody has a drinking problem, like, please, I'm not telling somebody to advocate. But what I am saying is, I would teach in a gym and people would always say to me, well, Rach, can I have like, 2 glasses of wine or like a few beers this week? And I was like, guys, we're trying to lose weight. Like, we're doing like a transformation. And they were like, but Rach, like, we don't want to feel crazy and then binge. And I would always hear this and say, you know what, guys, I get it. And this is about balance, and this is about a lifelong thing. And the more I hear from people is, I feel crazy at work. And I'm also seeing this big, massive trend where people really are going over the edge. I see depression, anxiety. We saw 2 major suicides this year. Mm-hmm. We're seeing more shootings. I mean, I feel like coming and again, we've gone on some different topics, but I think coming and really saying like, I really want to teach you how to make it in this crazy world. And talking about not just I work with really busy women, but it's like I work with women who do want to actually go out, enjoy themselves. And I'm going to teach you how you can enjoy yourself and how to not gain weight. Like one of my clients used to say, I love that you teach me how I can go have my wine and crackers and then like how to detox like the day after. And it was a person I worked with in real estate who did one of my detoxes. She was like, you're my lifesaver. And she was like, but you know what you taught me, Rachel, is that I needed to have flax crackers because I could never do gluten again. Mm-hmm. And you taught me that I could only have feta and goat cheese because the other cheese bloated me up. So like, I think the message more maybe for you is like, I'm going to teach you how to get off sugar. And I'm going to also teach you how to like really get in tune to your body. So as your hormones change, as your body changes, I'm going to show you these hacks so you don't gain weight, you don't get these migraines, you have great sleep, and your sex drive stays really great. I mean, those are 4 things. I don't know what woman would say, oh my God, Lynn, I'm hiring you. And plus you have fabulous skin. So it's like, those are like 5 things that, right? Sex drive, great skin, weight, and really like eating the foods to keep their hormones. And it doesn't mean you're a hormone coach, but I think you even went through and you did a hormone. Didn't you do a hormone? Yes. I mean, I would play around with that, sugar, hormones, and feed into really what women want. I think once we hit 40, we're like, okay, somebody just help me to figure out because I seem to change every 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I am. I'm like, okay, I'm 43. What just happened? Because I figured it out at 40 and I was like, what happened? Does that feel better?
Yeah, it does. It does.
And you have, I mean, I would also, instead of even saying like, I'm doing this challenge, I'm doing this, I would just start actually saying, you know, look, we're going to meet for a month. Don't even say the program. I started saying that. And again, these are just different strategies. You're testing out to almost see really, we have to do this. That's why I call like almost like re-niching. It's not rebranding. It's as we change, our list changes. The people and our people's needs change. So you're even just saying, guys, you know, look, for everyone out there whose hormones have changed, you don't even know what's going on. The typical weight loss that used to knock off 5 pounds easily, it's not working. I'm doing a program the 3rd week of January. Who is with me? That's much easier marketing than being like, who's doing a 7-day challenge? And I think that word challenge for women, once we get over 40, feels a little like, oh, goodness gracious. You know, like and that's where I would really play around. I would do the 25 word bank, or, you know, that I always say, play around with the words that you see. Go on Instagram and even see what are some keywords. Look at commercials. My favorite is I look at commercials and magazines. What are words that come up for, I hate the word senior living, but I always will get magazines that really appeal to like 45, 50, 55, 60. You want to pull out every word. And go in, also pull up the word anti-aging and look at every word that aligns with anti-aging. Every word, and start to say, just like I said, you know, hey, if that, you know, are you like me where that weight loss, you know, that used to work like 10 years ago stopped working? Do you have any question?
No, I'm busy writing.
Is anyone else, you know, and I see a few other people who kind of are, you know, even if anyone else is in a different specialty or niche, you have to remember it's not just a niche, guys, and this is why you have to look at human psychology. We are people. So a 40-year-old is a 40-year-old. Their human psychology needs, just like a girl in her 30s, I mean, like a girl, for example, is a girl building her business in her 20s. I have no idea. I cannot even understand. Of course she can do 25 Instagram stories a day. What, I mean, no offense to a girl in her 20s, but there's no babies running around, you know? Yeah. And if she's not even a 9-to-5er, or even if she is, she's like this. I can't understand what it's like even for a girl in her 30s. I mean, I can remember that, but my babies were on the floor, you know, and I was pregnant at 31. So, I mean, we always have to think in the terms, and for a woman in her 50s, does she have grandkids? Or is she like me, where I'm 43 with a, you know, 10 and a 12-year-old? Or is she in her 60s? That is where the avatar work is essential. Mm-hmm. So for everyone on here, it's not just the niche. We spend so much time like with this niche and pitch that we don't spend enough time going, okay, I have Sally. She is 60. She's got 2 grandkids. She actually watches her grandkids on the weekend. Or, you know, and she's divorced. And she loves watching Oprah. And she's overweight. And she's got diabetes. You know, so you write down all of her issues. And is she even on Facebook? And if she's on Facebook, what does she enjoy doing? Is she African American? Is she white? Is she Jewish? Is she Catholic? Is she Presbyterian? What are her values? Is she a 9-to-5? Is she retired? Is she an overeater? Does she tell you, this is my favorite one? Does she go, oh, I eat perfectly. I mean, there's nothing in my fridge. There's nothing in my fridge. What do you mean? Well, but you're 70 pounds overweight. Oh, well, I mean, I don't eat a lot. I just go out with the girls for lunch. Okay. So when you, I mean, for a snack, I just eat an apple. So you're like adding up, her calories are about 1,200 from what she says. So you have to start to think, okay, where's the deep pain? And that's when I really want you, though, that's where the messages come from. It's actually your avatar, and your avatars are usually either clients you've had, people you know, because you're going to be speaking to them. Emily Rosen, who I love and speaks a lot about, if any of you don't know Emily Rosen, please look her up on Facebook. She worked with Mark David for many years at the Psychology of Eating Institute. And I interviewed her, and I will never forget this post. I think she had about 850 likes or something on Facebook. And she was talking about emotional eating, which I was a huge emotional eater, had a lot of eating issues as a child, because it was how I controlled things. And she talked about that. And I also had gone through some stuff that had happened, sexual abuse stuff that I was very open with, not family, but stuff that had happened. And so a lot of that stemmed from that same thing. And Emily Rosen had made a post and talking about just how she had used food to protect herself. And that's a very common thing. And she made a post, and this gentleman had said, well, this doesn't apply to me. And she said, I'm not speaking to you. So I always think of her, and I share that stuff about myself, guys, not for like a wow factor, but because when we get okay with our past, it doesn't hold. And it doesn't mean that you have to, it doesn't mean that anybody watching this ever has to share, but I got okay with sharing about stuff like that because that was necessary for me to give a voice to somebody else who helped shame. And part of the emotional eating program that I wrote was me going, that's done. That's, I don't need to emotionally eat to hold on to shame anymore. But when you are thinking about your pain, is you have to think about who are you speaking to? Because one message is not just your tribe. One message may affect one person. And so when you're doing a social media post, that might only be for one person. So when you're thinking about your content, guys, or you're thinking about a program, that's why I always say, the single session might be for the person who's just not ready to commit. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to be, the person who sits down and talks about, or needs to be with you for a long time or wants to be. And then the person who is right for a 2-week may not ever be right for a 3-month. You may want to work with only 3 people for 3 months, but then make sure that that is the message, hey, it's really necessary to be on this journey for a while. But then work to build that message of trust and education. Social media or even workshops offline is education, connecting the dots, education, connecting the dots, and building trust. And if you're not doing those in a succinct way, which helps people to understand, people won't hire. And you always have to ask yourself that same thing. Am I really being authentic, or am I going, hey, yes, I help people to, I help them to figure out great, food for the week. Why? Why? Is it because it's really hard because you struggle yourself? Is it because you grew up in a house where there were, microwaves and TV dinners? Connect it. It doesn't mean that it's like your mom wasn't a great mom. It just means she was overwhelmed too. Coaching is about connection. And if it's really uncomfortable, work somewhere like a doctor's office or a med spa or a place that holds space for you to not then have to put yourself out there in that way. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It will give a buffer so that somebody is able to feed you client, even if it means making a little less money. But you will build up that confidence and you'll be able to put the emotional money into the cash register. So, and I would also say, if you're not making money, it may not be that. It may just be that there's not enough messages in a succinct way going to people that someone goes, oh, she or he just said how I feel. I am going to freaking call this person. But I will say this, and I've said this many times, when I teach at Hippocrates, Pam, who is one of the heads there, tells this story every time she introduces me. And I've taught there for over 6 years. She goes, guys, we are so lucky to have Rachel teach here. She's local to Florida. Please don't think that showing up is not important, because I was driving with my friend and my friend said, oh my God, Pam, we have to stop at a health food store. I follow this girl and she's got this amazing recipe. She posts recipes every day. And Pam said, who is it? Oh my God, let me see this recipe. I love recipes. And she goes, this woman has the best recipes. Every day she posts something, every day. And Pam looked and it was me. And she said, oh my God, that's our Rachel. She goes, what's the recipe? And it was a protein bowl. And she said, oh my God, I've been following this woman for 3 years. And Pam said, that's crazy. She's been teaching. At that time, I was teaching there for 4 years. She said, I have been following her forever. And the same thing, my daughter was playing football. And I have a tattoo here that says my husband's name. Mm-hmm. And I came off the football field and this woman goes, oh my God, you're Rachel. You used to have Rachel's Wellness. You just got a tattoo with your husband in the summer. And I said, how'd you know? She goes, well, I saw your tattoo. That's Scott. She said, I followed you forever because you post the best stuff about health and empowerment. And you make my day. I have followed you. So I tell you that because sometimes we think that nobody's following us and we think that we're not changing somebody's life. Just because somebody doesn't like your post or they don't say something doesn't mean that you haven't touched their heart. My own cousin sent me a message like I saw him at my brother's wedding and he goes, no, I don't ever like your stuff, but I just want to tell you, like, you make my day every day. Mm. So, please guys, think about what you want to say. And if you're really confused and you're at the infancy of your business, don't think one opt-in freebie. I don't tell you this because it's a marketing tactic. I had many different opt-in freebies, and let me just show this. Hold on. So let me just hide you for okay. Let me pull this closer. Okay. You're not going to be able to see the writing, but these are all opt-in freebies. You never know when somebody's coming in, they're coming in because this is a pain point. This is a pain point. This could be thyroid. This could be gut. This could be sugar. This could be chocolate because they love recipes. You never know what somebody's searching for. They might be searching for probiotics. They might be searching for, something on like a recipe guide. I had always a bundle just on my, this is actually a bundle freebie. And the whole goal is like right here, this is your site. You've got a little bundle. This could be a little detox, maybe whatever it is. You don't know what somebody is searching for. So you're just making an assumption. That's all marketing is. You're making an assumption. And my best advice to you, if you're brand new, or if you're like, I don't even know what to do, is to call 10 of your friends because they are your avatar and say, guys, what are you struggling with? Like, just, do you mind taking, 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, trust me. In 10 minutes, they'll be like, I don't even know what to do. I feel crazy. And if you said, well, would you love 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? They'll tell you. And if you go back and say, what were the 5 problems? Not the solution. And it's not most often where you are now. It's the problem. Is it, and for some of you guys, it's clean eating. And they're not searching for clean eating. Most of your friends, most of the moms that I taught, they're eating a bagel and cream cheese for breakfast. Drop a 3 if everyone you know is doing this. They are going to McDonald's. They're going to Burger King. They're getting takeout. And I don't mean like takeout like healthy. I mean like, they're eating Special K. They're having milk with it. And yet they're constipated, constantly sick. And I wouldn't say like sick, just like a constant little cold. Their kids have eczema, which they think is totally fine. They've got like thyroid issues. They've got, like their kids have cradle cap. Their hair is falling out. Some have hemorrhoids. Maybe they won't tell you. They've got varicose veins. Some have lumps in their breast, which they're all finding out about, at that kind of cancer stage, which is really scary. Some kids are really sick. Their kids are getting their tonsils out. It's like ear infections, strep constantly. It's like we're not even getting into disease. We're just like at the basic. Urinary tract infections, yeast infections, jock itch, athlete's foot, all the nasty fungus among us. Yeah. Fun stuff. And it's just like gluten. Most people are just at the basics and they haven't even gotten to this next place. So just think basic and start talking about basic. If you're not even at that next place, some of you are. Some of you have gone through a myriad of health issues, and that is a very defined story. Some of you don't even know what your story is. And so I don't just say go for weight loss. I love like sugar, because I don't know who doesn't have a sugar issue. I feel like sugar is a mass issue, and you can talk about a lot of things like disease. I love the movie Fed Up, because I think it's got a lot of statistics that are great. You can pull them off and you can be like, hey, Katie Couric's awesome. And Mark Hyman. You can even get like Chris Kressler said this. And there's so much information, guys. There's so many great teachers out there. If you don't feel confident, and I did this constantly, I would be like, Donna Gates says this. And I did feel confident, but I still was scared. If you don't, and I also feel like workshops are essential. Find local places, especially if you're trying to launch it for New Year's. Don't try to launch January 1st unless you are working with a brick and mortar. Aim for like the 3rd, 4th week, or do a theme of like self-love, Valentine's, pay it forward to yourself, like give yourself the gift of love, and just give yourself a little breath to launch and know that you don't have to do it perfect. But I love workshops because find those people locally. How many of you know a health food store locally? Your own massage therapist, your own acupuncturist, your own chiropractor. I had so many referrals. And when I graduated, this is just a low and we're going to close it out. Right before I graduated was when we lost everything. I thought I would have like my business great because I knew everyone in Philadelphia, and we actually moved to Florida. So I knew nobody, and I had to start at ground zero. But I took one baby on the hip, and I went to Del Rey, which is about 25 minutes from Boca. And I met, I went into local places, juice places. I went into Flywheel, which is like Soul Cycle. And I went anywhere. and just said, this is what I do. I specialize in this, and I can do these 3 different workshops. I went to vendors. I got vendor tables at health expos. I did all the things that at that time when that's what they told us to do. Now that the digital world's so crazy, everyone's just in this crazy digital, but we went out and met people locally, and those local people became unbelievable resources. My own doctor was an unbelievable referral network. So you really want to think about how you get strategy sessions and what's on your work with me, which is why I always talk about a 2-tier work with me and having a program to offer instead of just going, oh yeah, you get handouts. Hard to really close it out and close it down on a strategy session when you're like, yeah, well, you get 2 15-minute sessions and tech support and unlimited emails and handouts. Because you're probably going to be like I was, pulling from Josh Axe and at the time Chris Carr and 100 Cookbooks and Alana's Pantry, because there weren't anywhere to find stuff. My business really grew when I had a system for myself and a system for clients. So if you're confused, if you want to take advantage of cyber, which we have going on right now, please feel free. People know that they can email me. You can email me. Actually, if you go to yourhealthcoachbiz.com, that actually comes right to me. And people are always like, oh my God, you're answering. People know that about me. Lynn's known me a long time. I do that because I was a coach and all I wanted was for somebody to freaking answer an email and it not be an automated service, because this is your business. So whether you're new or whether you're trying to figure out just what to do, whether it's, I get a lot of questions, like I work with women in menopause. So I'm just going to riff through a few things and then we can go. If you're working with people in menopause, what did I do? Women who are going into menopause, there's always, Lynn, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. I'm going to just take you off.
Okay.
But if you know where I am, if there's questions.
Okay.
And you know I adore you. But I know you can do this. And I think if you do it this way, I also feel like you're going to have more flexibility in what you talk about. And I think it's now a little more fun.
Yeah.
And I will also say this. If you want to do a side-by-side interview with me on your page, and we can talk about this, and just, I'm more than happy to do that with you.
Okay,
too.
great.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Thanks.
All right. If you guys, and I just want to roll through a few things because people always ask me, if I were to do this program, like if I work with these people, what did I do? I worked with my niche, or let's actually just say the people I worked with, it was a reflection of my life. When my kids were little, we did, and I openly talk about this, we had to do a lot of early intervention. I had gut issues. My husband and I, we both have autoimmune. I had tons of heavy metals. So did my kids. There was a lot. It's a lot of stuff. And so, because I talked about that a lot, and what was tangible when I realized that gut was not, and people weren't really even understanding that, despite all the information. So this is what I mean about get clear on what people understand. Even though probiotics were on the front of every Special K box, people still didn't understand why. And they didn't even understand that they would say, well, I have acid reflux. They didn't understand the connection between like your gut, yours, nose, like they didn't understand intestine, gut, just wasn't connecting. And so I started then focusing on food allergies because we had them, and my kids had major food allergies, my son specifically. So I started showing also in social media and pictures, and my pictures weren't great, guys. So like let go perfection, started showing what I was taking, what I was sending to school for my son. Well, some people were contacting me, I heard that you work, that you work with kids who have food allergies, I was like, well, actually, I've really like worked with my family, and they were like, can I hire you? I was like, yeah, awesome. So I started working a lot with people with food allergies. I also aligned with a like a few practitioners here that did food allergy testing, which also really created a beautiful synergy. So I encourage you to do that. But what I did is I had a detox, and I also had my own gut program, which was kind of like the paleo program. I also created a paleo program because at the time when paleo came out, there was all this bacon fat, and I have gallbladder issues. I have for a long time, and I started seeing 10 coaches because they all had these issues and they were gaining weight after paleo. So I started using the paleo program and a gut program that I had and the detox as my allergy and gut rebuilding programs. That's great. And I also started using the paleo program as programs that I used at a gym because I realized that that was also really great for energy. I worked with a lot of athletes because I was just, I wouldn't say I was like a pro athlete, but I was a competitive swimmer my whole life, and I was a gym rat. So that fit my life. Doesn't mean that I worked like one of the people in my membership that I worked with athletes or promoted that, but I would go into gyms and be like, hey, look, I was a competitive swimmer and I'm a nutcase, gym rat, and I help people have more energy. And by having more energy, you will lose weight. I'm not a weight loss coach, and I would say that all the time. I help people to have more energy. And then it all of a sudden started getting out that I did that, and then all these athletes started coming to me and saying, like, can you help me have more energy? So I started working with athletes, which was just really fun. So I started, because I started developing these parts of what made me really excited, because energy was an issue for me because I had chronic fatigue, gut, detox kind of stuff. That was what I was known for. So it's the problem, not just what I defined myself as. And I worked with families who was going through a lot of the stuff that I had. And then I loved servicing the whole family. So I started making family packages. And then I started making clean out the whole cabinet and make you go gluten-free packages and VIP days. Moms, I loved to do Revitalize. That was actually what I did at a mom's group for a long time. We did Revitalize, we did Sugar, because they were just, Revitalize was really great for whole families, the food, 21-day clean eating. I wish I had that then, because tons of moms love that. And I do feel like moms are just really overwhelmed. Unless I had a mom who was like sick, kind of like me, or needed to kind of understand like the basic of what foods were really inflaming her, I would do the detox. And if she was just really overwhelmed, I would do paleo, because I felt like anything grain-free was going to take her off of like mucusy kind of foods. We have tons of programs, guys, that are vegetarian and omnivore. If you read on any of the sales pages, you will see vegetarian or omnivore. We have a program that is called Reset Your Life in 21 Days. That is a real mindset program that's vegan and omnivore. I feel like that's awesome. If that's a big thing, the mindset part, or especially if you're really looking for daily habits, mindset makeovers like that. Revitalize is also like that. I love really focusing, like, I think all of our programs have a mindset part, but those are like really mindset. We then have our hormone, and then you get into kind of like the specific. I feel like the like really hormone-ish. And then the ones that I did work with, functional medicine practitioners, like our Adrenal Restart, which was a baby for me because that was a huge part of my recovery. Thyroid recovery, our hormone, which is module-based, Restore Your Gut. And I wouldn't say, people ask me all the time, we are working on some very specific gut ones that will be coming out. That's like a great standard gut one. It does talk about mono meals. It does get into that, but knowing from gut, like, I just feel like a lot of people do need do need individual support. You can do it in a group, but I would really suggest having an extra add-on where people get like one-on-one, or upselling with testing, or working in collaboration with a functional medicine practitioner or a chiropractor where you can do that additional testing, because I would say some people can get better just with the things in there, but I think that most people, if there's layered issues where they've been issues since like 15, 16, most often they need some, additional support. Or if there's been issues like myself, like pylori, SIBO, Clostridia, parasites. I mean, if you're in the Candida-ish, but still Candida usually stems from parasites per the work of like Huda-Clark, or even Klinghardt. And usually there's a heavy metal factor as well. So please don't just think Candida is, like, oh, some people have it because there's fungus, or some people have it maybe because there's mold. But usually it's not just, take some grapefruit seed extract and, do a Candida cleanse. It's usually a liver toxicity component as well. And usually bile flow and some gallstones. So not to make this a whole health talk, but please guys, like, this gets into also a bigger picture that like we're coaches, and some of us have more certifications and degrees, but like this is also, these are people's lives. And it's one of the reasons that I encourage all of us, don't work out of your zone. It's one of the reasons that when I write these programs, and a lot of people ask me like, is it safe for me to do this? I write them on an educational basis, because I do believe, like, I am integrative. I feel like East meets West. There was never this one thing that ever worked for me, and I needed to see people, and I needed to work with a lot of different people. I don't believe everyone needs to do that, but please don't. I get into forums and I get really scared sometimes because I see people making suggestions where I'm like, if you feel like you're working out of your zone, it's okay if you don't know something. I remember being like, oh my God, is my client going to feel like I don't know something? It's okay. I can't tell you how many times I would say to a client, you know what, we actually need to stop our month. Go see this acupuncturist, which is why it goes back to find, people to be in collaboration with. It's so beautiful. Towards the end of working, as seeing people one-on-one in Rachel's Wellness, I built teams, because the people who did come to me were really sick. And I started to just say, like, you have to work in a team with me. And we did, and it was so, so beautiful. So please don't feel like you have to do everything, because you don't, especially if you're working with people. But at the same time, remember, a lot of people are just, they need to be seen. They need to be seen. They need to be heard. And so much of our stuff is basic. Is we're not drinking enough water. We're not taking a probiotic. Our vitamin D levels are off. And that's why in our programs, like even in the thyroid, there's a checklist they take to their doctor. Even in the adrenal program, it's like, here, take this to your doctor, or take this to your naturopath. So I would say if you're working with busy corporate, I love programs where they're just easy, like Eat for Energy, because that's what corporate wants. Like, go with the pain instead of what you think they need. And if you have any questions, again, go to yourhealthcoachbiz.com, just pop in your question. I'm here. And, have fun with your business. Don't overcomplicate it. Somebody's just saying, if I buy the Sugar Repair, which opt-in should I promote to get several demographics in? Remember also, like, Sugar Repair comes with opt-in freebies. So a lot of people will always be like, they'll say, do I need an opt-in freebie, or do I need, PowerPoint presentations? I'm like, oh my God, like, they're in it already. But think of it like this. So sugar, I would use the ones in there. That's number one. But if you wanted to use something else, I would personally get the chocolate one because I don't know who isn't a chocolate lover. And the reason I put that together is, I mean, one, it's a win-win. I don't know who would want chocolate because it's the holidays coming up. But then you can also use it like as a giveaway for Valentine's Day. You can also just also give it as like a little gift whenever you have like a client, you know, and you start a client with a client as like, I always call it a love package. My love package is I always sent like a tongue scraper because that was just part, and I sent like a little freebie, and I would send like some Epsom salts or an oil. So I think when you're taking somebody and you're saying, here, we're going to get off sugar, you can also say, it's okay though to still love chocolate. Like it's okay to, because part of getting off sugar is that balance. You know, it's to say like, it's okay, you know, like it's okay to have that balance. And to really enjoy. So that's what I would personally do. Somebody saying, do you ever sell your programs just to feed out an email drip downloads? So I've done it in a bunch of different, my voice is cracking. I've done it in a bunch of different ways. And I think this also depends on the person. Courses are becoming really popular, like Teachable, Thinkific, that like everyone loves courses. I think the biggest thing is not to overwhelm people. So what I've done when and before, like I had a team and I'm like not perfect in, you know, MailChimp, is I would always send email number one. And I would say, welcome, you know, I'm so excited. Here are your program materials. Here's week one. I always would give the recipe book. So I just felt like giving the recipes and giving like the weekly meals, because I always think people want to know what they're eating. And I also taught people, a lot of people, statistically, people only eat 5 meals and they swap around their sauces. And I mean, that's just like 5 meals. Like even think about your own. So I would always give the recipes and say like, number one, download, here's the recipes and here's the meals for like the next 6 weeks, because I want you to plan, because so often we get overwhelmed. So if there are meals that you just feel like consistently you're going to eat or batch cook, like let's plan that. Number 2, here is, you know, the link to our calls, or maybe you're meeting face to face. So here's a link to our calls, or this is when we're meeting here. And then number 3, this is the guide that we're going to focus on. That's all I would do. And I would say, and before, like, you know, 2 days before we go into our next one, I'm going to send you the next material, because I just think it's really overwhelming. And I would just then send the next one. I don't like sending tons of emails. I feel like it's overwhelming. Some people do. I would rather say to people like, check into the forum, or hey, I'm going to do a live. Some people do like sending a welcome and then like a check-in email like in the middle of the week. Everyone's preference. So my biggest is just not overwhelming. And I think there's a really simple way to not overwhelm by explaining and going number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. That's my favorite way to do it. When I've also seen people like, you know, put things on one email, but say, hey, this is, and I've done this too. This is week 1, this is week 2, this is week 3. But just make it, and I would say, don't overwhelm yourself. But my biggest thing was always giving people the recipes. I feel like most people, that's where they start to actually feel overwhelmed. They're like, and I would always say, if you don't want to go through everyone, let's just pick your 3 favorite. And I tell coaches that all the time. And yet I think a lot of coaches don't understand that. They're like, oh, my clients are so overwhelmed. I'm like, because they're not coming home until like 8. Just have them focus on 3. Like they're going to be okay. They're eating healthy. Then they're giving up gluten already. So they're going to be great. Someone saying, is it possible to watch this video later? Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to close this out, guys. I don't know. It always turns, I swear, my husband said, you should just do a 24-hour video, Rach. But sleep on your couch in the office because you just talk forever. Yes, we're closing it out. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lynn, for offering just yourself and being so open. I believe in all of you, and I'm really, really excited for this next year. Om Shanti Jai Ma to all of you. Thank you, thank you. Have a beautiful night. Remember, we are going into the winter. This is the adrenal and the bladder and the kidneys. So make sure that you are honoring your kidneys and your bladder. Cranberry juice. Make sure you're keeping your immune system strong, great probiotics. And if you guys are wanting to know my favorite probiotics and adrenal and stuff like that, please tag me in our free niche forum. And I will see you later, guys. Have a beautiful one. Bye, guys. All right. Have a good one.